Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. Can I get a roll call, please?
Michael Cashman.
Present.
Thomas Wood.
I'm here.
Charles Costick.
Here.
Dana Isabella. Here. Daniel Bosley.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
And I, Katie Kulichman, present.
Perfect. We are going to have public comment this evening. Is there anyone seeking public comment? Come on up. Before I provide an opportunity for public comment, let me just address the fact that individuals seeking to speak will be allotted up to 5 minutes to speak. Yes, sir.
It's more for the camera to pick it up than
Okay.
because it's close enough. We do hear you in a whisper, but.
All right, very good,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Barker of Route 9, Plattsburgh. Tonight, I want to convey to you my concerns for what I see as overzealous and impractical buildup of town commercial and industrial properties and the lack of fiscal responsibility. What I foresee beyond the current self-created housing shortage that is bringing in unaddressed population growth is inadequate infrastructure such as our waterways, roadways, and sewage handling. For example, spend time along Dock Street in the city. There you will witness numerous daily tanker trucks transporting out raw sewage waste that also originates from this town. With more growth, this method of disposal is impractical, expensive, and damaging our roadways. On June 11th, I addressed the Clinton County Legislature over 4 of my concerns, one of which is this fiscal overbuilding resulting in a housing shortage and inadequate infrastructure. I am leaving a copy of this reading with you tonight. And just to get off my script, there is mention here of the Essential Air Service. I have airline operations background with Delta. I think the feds are going to cut our Essential Air Service to 5 upstate airports. If that happens, we're going to lose Contour. People here will have to be driving to Burlington. There's an alternate proposal I made to the county. I haven't heard. You can read it and digest it because it's important. I read recently how the town of Plattsburgh, after owning and developing its part of the former air base with extensive industrial, commercial, and residential properties for over 20 years, now wants federal money to correct new problems that are developing there. My understanding is that the town acquired the land at a mere fraction of its fair market value. Some people tell me it was $1 US, other people say it was 10. It wasn't $60 million. It's a bargain. At a fraction of its fair market value, and it was a whereas as is sale with a no liability relationship to the federal government. Think knew or should have known as a legal term about the age and military codes exemptions that are now becoming evident. Further, the current federal government's policy is to stop waste and abuse of federal tax money. They rightfully should probably not fund a problem that is not their responsibility. The end being that the town, by managing the income and just expenditures, should be willing and able to cover these infrastructure costs that are their responsibility, your responsibility. Many of us have recently seen large increases in our residential assessed property values, and it is unknown if the commercial industrial side has also kept up to be fair and impartial to all. I'm in the blind for it. I don't know. I think it should be published, and perhaps a newspaper would do a story on it. It would be unjust to have commercial properties undervalued to entice this building here at the expense of the residents. How you spend this tax revenue is a concern to all residents, so plan accordingly. Thank you, and I see my talking tonight is right on line with what you're going to discuss tonight. So I'm going to leave this record with you all to review, and you may want to consider the factors.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You all have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
I do want to actually, no one else is here for public comment. I do want to actually touch on some stuff regarding the Plattsburgh Air Force Base infrastructure. It's somewhat of a status slash update. I want to go backwards to go forwards, and what I mean by that is really kind of getting to a little bit of a history lesson, and I certainly am not going to be able to cover everything. But I think it's important to note that the Plattsburgh Air Force Base had its groundbreaking back in 1954, a Cold War era construction period. And we're talking about legacy infrastructure. You know, the base began operations in 1955 as part of the tactical wing under the Strategic Air Command of the United States Air Force. It continued operations until the mission in about 1991, when it was reassigned as an air refueling wing, and then the base closed under the Department of Defense Base Realignment Closure, or BRAC program, in 1995. I think it's important that this photo says a couple of different things. One is you can see the Plattsburgh Air Force Base in that first photo. It was kind of like a gated community, right? A community within itself, but it was actually more than a community. It was almost its own city. I mean, it had its own water tower, it had its own infrastructure, and it was quite overbuilt too, because the type of equipment that were running over its roads were, not the average, materials and stuff. The other part to it is because it was the federal government that they had really its own oversight, right? How things got built, when it got built, what materials were using being built, and then when it was time, end of life for some of that material, often the materials would actually get buried in the ground, including asbestos pipe, okay? So think of it as more than a gated community, think of it as a gated city, or a gated town. And that last photo kind of gives you the sense of the size and scale. And I often don't get this completely accurate, but the airline is so large that it was approximately one of the third largest destinations for a spacecraft to land in an emergency. We're talking about a rather large. It's not just the airstrip. We're talking about the surrounding areas. When the town of Plattsburgh became informed, along with the city of Plattsburgh, along with Clinton County, along with the business community and the residents at large, there became a focused conversation about redevelopment of the property, right? There are acres upon acres upon acres. But when the material was passed off to the various municipalities, much of those materials were on yellowed paper, plans, things that didn't really put the what and where in perspective to things. I would also say that when we talk about legacy problems, it is well documented, including in the Salt Junction area, including in Kemp Lane, etc., that the Air Force Base was a driving factor for this area to be a PFOS and PFA Superfund site, and they continue to remediate issues out there. The reason I bring that up is the Air Force continues to be involved in the Plattsburgh former Air Force Base, because things that they did back then were detrimental to the here and now today, okay? So in kind of pulling this together with infrastructure, I'm not talking about all aspects of infrastructure at the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. I'm talking about a coordinated approach, and we'll get into that a little bit deeper. But the Superfund site is an example of the Air Force Base and the federal government continuously being involved, and us actually being in partnership, which we have done with areas of Kemp Lane in a moral and ethical, responsible way. And I'm quite proud of our ongoing relationship with that. The town has been proactive in our approach. We have always leaned in on health and safety, sustainability, and economic development. We launched a $24 million, thereabout, water and wastewater capital plan, not kicking the can down the road, addressing infrastructure of yesteryears, and also looking to the horizon in the future, making sure that we again were looking at the health and safety, the sustainability, and the economic development, and we've done a lot of work corner to corner within the town. But as we look at that, I would draw you specifically to the fact that this plan represented approximately $24 million, about 18 projects. We also launched the Water and Wastewater Advisory Committee, made up of subject experts, including engineers, including people from the health department, including municipal partners, etc. And we really focused, again, as you can see on this map, corner to corner in the town. It wasn't simply painting some water towers, it was refurbishment, it was lines, etc. More directly, the Plattsburgh Air Force Base, because we have not abdicated our responsibility for elements of infrastructure out there, we have invested approximately $6.3 million in the former Air Force Base kind of footprint. About 5 miles of water lines, about 2.3 in wastewater lining, 60 manholes, and a new pump station. So again, addressing some of the older stuff, addressing the interconnects, looking towards the future, health and safety, sustainability, and economic development. I think it's really critical to understand that these are some of the knowns, right? There were, again, surface level knowns that we have been very well prepared to document and to manage. You know, there is a saying that you should not go food shopping when you're hungry. And there's another saying that you should not buy a new car when you are in the most need, right? When the Plattsburgh Air Force Base closed, we were in a period of stress, right? Probably not the best time to negotiate. And one might wax on and say, but it was negotiated. The federal government had the upper hand. The federal government knew about a variety of things that were you know, in the ground and so on and so forth, and in my humble opinion, did not always provide the best material. So, you know, we have positioned ourselves to address things in a manner with the best resources and the authority and the ability that we have had. So I want to address, again, kind of that, you can see similar in the veins, right, some of the areas. The former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, you can see this is where the new Plattsburgh International Airport, county property. Last year, we had sustained significant damage in these corridors. We took immediate action, absolutely immediate. Greg Brunel and the highway crew and myself were out there. There were partial road closures. There was emergency repairs that occurred. And to put some things in perspective, this is Idaho and Connecticut. Over here, there was approximately a 8-inch natural gas line that was exposed. Office of Emergency Management is over on the corner there. We dispatched resources immediately to not only address the health and safety there, but strategically putting something in motion. The key challenges that arose were sinkholes and other areas of failure. You can see some of the photos of the sinkholes, NYSEG, electric and gas, as well as off of that Connecticut-Idaho corridor. You can see the railroad crossing, and while a sinkhole is further up, it's in that corridor. So there's an acknowledgement of impacts beyond the municipality, right? And the unknown. I would also dare say that some of the infrastructure, such as natural gas, etc., may not have been laid in certain corridors had they known more information from the federal government when some of these resources. I can't speak to that directly at the moment, but I can tell you that even some of the telephone lines are in places where you talk to NICEAG and electrical lines, and they say, why would anyone ever put these here? Like, hard question mark. So there's an acknowledgement, from folks outside that there's a lot going on here. So again, keep in mind that, this is what 2024 looked like right here. A lot of damage. I'm using the Idaho and Connecticut as one example. This got self-prioritized because of the 8-inch natural gas line, okay, along with what was concerning is the intersection in the health and safety and the stability underneath it. So that intersection and the work that you're looking at was approximately over $500,000, okay? And we do have some money that we have been, pulling together, and strategically looking at plants. In fact, New York Road was one of those priority projects that we were looking at. Unfortunately, we did not receive enough funding. And this hit at about the same time. What we were advised by our engineering group was, do not tear up New York Road, okay, without having a better understanding of the larger interconnection of things, because there could be a lot more going on there, and a couple of $1 million project could blossom significantly. So
if you don't look, you'll never know.
oh, well, we're going to get to that.
All right.
So in 2025, the highway department regularly, after a storm event, will survey the Plattsburgh Air Force Base and will look for any damages. You can see that on Idaho there's a sinkhole. There's also damage to one of the near the storm drains, and the highway department had again immediately begun to secure the site. This time, what is concerning is this road is a heavily operated road. It's over near Ulstrom, and there is other ways to get over to those properties, but it needs to be known that if more damage is sustained, that this road could get shut off for a period of time. Could be 14 months, could be 16 months. I would also go back to the fact that a couple of weeks ago, the town of Plattsburgh, again proactively, adopted a resolution looking at a CFA grant to do the study that you were kind of opining about, and we recognize that a study needs to be done. That has never there's never been any opposition to that. What we need to do, though, is things need to be done with the best information at hand, and we do not have the full information. So, again, there's an escalating danger with zero federal action. And, the fact of the matter is that Plattsburgh did not want the Plattsburgh Air Force Base to close 30 years ago. In fact, there were many individuals in this community that advocated and rallies and letters, and I believe the first Cuomo was in Plattsburgh for a rally. I mean, there was a full-on campaign to save Plattsburgh. I remain in the position that I would be extremely proud if the Plattsburgh Air Force Base was here today. I have no doubt that the town of Plattsburgh and the surrounding municipalities in the North Country would be very proud to have the Plattsburgh Air Force Base here. In fact, it is one of the reasons that when we redesigned the logo for the town is that we included the nod to the Air Force Base with the wings. That's how proud we are. The people here are very patriotic. We believe in the mission of protecting our nation. We believe in everything that was represented there. From the first shovel going in the ground, we celebrated, and then unfortunately, the Plattsburgh Air Force Base closed. So fact is, Plattsburgh did not want the Air Force Base to close. The next fact, though, is 30 years later, the federal government is failing Plattsburgh again. Okay, and I'll go over that in a moment. But just to give you a perspective, and any of you had kind of inquired about, New York Road, and working with LaBerge Group, we began a soft assessment of what it would cost in 2024 dollars for the entire campus of the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. It was $12 million plus at the time, and it keeps growing today, okay? So again, we're calling on the feds to act. So what are we asking for? And I think it's important to note, this isn't kind of like a 1, 2, 3 in the sense, but the first one is, I believe, the most manageable and the most responsible thing that the federal government can do in partnership. I remind you of the PFOAs, okay? A Superfund site. The federal government, okay, has hotspots in our area. On Kemp Lane, we are working with them. We are providing good town municipal water because they did something that was a screw up, okay? And we're working with them. That's what partnership is. We should have a continued partnership. The first thing that they should be able to do is to assign the former Air Force Base a engineering team. They have engineers in the Air Force, okay? Could be Army Corps, could be whatever, but there's no reason that they could not assign an engineering team to work with us to best understand what is going on and the likely practices during the period of time of an active base, okay? Where were they likely to bury maybe asbestos pipe? Where were they likely to, couple things with data? I'm not gonna speak on their behalf, but we need to have the federal government involved.
Where they would dump fuel, where they would.
Yeah, working with us to understand what was the what were the practices, not even the best practices, what were the practices of the time, okay? Because again, if we're going to address things in the here and now, we need to understand that not all of that material has been provided. Additionally, activate monies from the bipartisan infrastructure deal. The federal government, in their infinite wisdom, chose to put money towards infrastructure. Infrastructure is the bread and butter of local government, of county government, of state government, and federal government. Well, the federal government is the one that put in the old pipes. And I'll put it in perspective. One of the pipes that we're looking at was approximately 72 inches in diameter, which is approximately 6 feet, and it was about 9 foot long. That is not something you go down to Lowe's to pick up, right? I mean, this is well oversized. Now, I don't know if that same size of pipe needs to go in today because maybe the size of the equipment that's going over the roads and so on and so forth. But it's this infrastructure that is well below the baseline of what we have been doing that is causing issues, okay? So we've invested in paving. We've invested in lining water lines and stormwater and different things like that. We're talking about a lot of infrastructure that is approximately, say, 20 feet or more below it. And that is why the federal government is failing to participate in infrastructure that no municipality should be responsible for. Now, I've heard some arguments say, well, there's been other communities that have done some redevelopment, and there's been some other communities that are in similar situations. I would argue that no municipality should have to be left holding the bag for the federal government for one, doing what they want, choosing to leave, then during a period of distress, negotiating terms that again are to the benefit of the federal government. And again, we're not saying that we're not willing to partner. That has never pursed my lips at all. The last part of it is, I think there is a moral and ethical responsibility, and I say this a lot, but to secure monies in a defense bill for perpetual care. And a good example of it is very similar to the mausoleum, okay? We were never meant to be in the business of the mausoleum, okay? But we have grandparents and parents and children and our veterans, people living in that space forever. and we are going to do everything that we can to protect them and care for them. We understand that obligation. This is a new obligation now that the Air Force Base is closed. We would have preferred them to have been here, but the federal government acted by overbuilding or building and doing things. They've left, now we're here. And the other part to it is, as we continue to see investments in our town, in this corridor, and I want to be really clear, the town of Plattsburgh saw approximately 444 building permits. We reviewed approximately 1.4 million square feet of new build last year. Saw about 54.5 new value, okay, not, it's not like I'm able to go and cash that check, but value in the region. Here, the town of Plattsburgh is the economic engine of Clinton County and this corridor of the county, of the North Country. But the other part to it is the town of Plattsburgh does not have a property tax, okay? And many businesses, previously, it was a big gamble. Truly, it was a gamble of could they stand up businesses out in that area, okay? And a number of them are doing very well, and the state is starting to invest on some new things, and we can opine on a number of stuff. But the fact remains is that new things are being built on things that are old. And the infrastructure that I'm concerned about right now is the known. We know that there's periods and pockets that are failing. I don't know about other areas, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist, but you have to be a realist. If you see something happen, see something, say something. So, a short time ago, I again called on our partners, Senator Schumer, Senator Gillibrand, and Representative Stefanik, and I do want to provide you some information. These are quotes that were obtained by the press. Senator Schumer's office responded to a request for comment by ABC 22 Fox 44, noting, and I quote, Senator Schumer has delivered many millions of dollars in federal support, funding to support Plattsburgh, Clinton County, and the Plattsburgh Airport, and stands ready to assist pursuing all available federal and state grant programs to address any infrastructure issues and modernization projects. Quote, and we are ready to help facilitate any meetings between the town and any relevant federal agencies they may wish to pursue funding through, including the Air Force and Department of Transportation. That's great. Asked for it a year ago, we didn't get it. This is good news. I look forward to updating you from Senator Schumer's office when we can get some of those meetings. In response from Senator Gillibrand, told NBC5 that she has been paying close attention to the situation, and I quote, focusing on the particular property has been something I focused on for a while. Gillibrand said, and I quote, and so we are going to be working with them on resources, end quote. Great. Again, no meetings are scheduled yet, but I will continue to keep you updated on this information. And then finally from Congresswoman Stefanik's office, also replied saying she is, in quote, in touch with the Air Force and working to address the need, end quote. And that was from Champlain Valley website. The reason I bring those quotes directly to you is I want to start with Senator Schumer first. He invokes some monies to the Plattsburgh Airport. I am not saying that there is not value in money towards the Plattsburgh Airport, essential air, and so on and so forth. Those are not the monies that we're talking about today. They are not going to be the monies that we need to be talking about in the future. We are talking about dollar for infrastructure. We also need to find partnership on the infrastructure failures that are occurring out at the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. So when folks say that they have supported the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base, I'm not denying that part of it at all, okay? And I applaud that there's been some really great things that have occurred out at the former Air Force Base. The problem area is the infrastructure, the Cold War era infrastructure that the federal government put in the ground, well below and well beyond what any local municipality can or should have to do. And I would say, again, going back to, you know, a future defense bill, you know, we have seen similar situations with prison closures, okay, and not having a plan for things. And shame on New York State for not also having a plan. No community here wants to see a prison closure. I certainly don't. We have friends, we have family. It is part of the fabric of who we are in the North Country. And, you know, I know Governor Hochul has been talking about the possibility of closing future ones. Shame on her. And furthermore, if she then takes those steps, not having a perpetual care program and a plan for those communities, it is abhorrent. So these all have similar, you know, connections. So I want to end there. I apologize for kind of going a little bit on a soapbox here, but I think it's important for, and I know you all know this, I want the public to hear it. I wish he had stayed to hear it. Hopefully he'll watch our meeting online. The town of Plattsburgh, the final message that I share from this seat as supervisor, and I appreciate you as colleagues, one is that you have always been resolved in health and safety of our community. You have always been resolved in the sustainability of our community. And you have always been resolved in the smart economic development, okay, through a lens where we, you know, plan the work the plan, where we, you know, study, we plan it, and then we implement it. This same thing needs to occur, but we have to do it through the power of partnership, and the federal government must be a partner in all this. And without it, roads will close, things will slow down, and the economic corridor of this corner of the town will come to a halt. I have shared this with our partners elsewhere, and I will continue to keep you updated on things. Any questions?
No, Michael, very well put. And, you know, and I think this board certainly has not ignored the issues and the concerns with the base. I don't think that the boards previous to us did. If that were the case, we would not have put more than a quarter of the capital improvement plan for water, wastewater into that area. In excess of a quarter of that $24 million went out to the base. And I think it's important for the public to understand that what we're talking about with storm sewer infrastructure at the base, this is not your typical 24 or 36 inch stormwater pipe that's buried 4 or 5 feet below the ground on the side of the road. This is 72 inch storm sewer pipe that's buried 20 feet below the ground in sand, and in many cases with power poles, gas lines running above it, etc. Certainly nothing that would have been allowed in anything that the town did. I think we've put a large amount of money into that area, and Michael, I agree with you 100% with the monies that the senators and Congresswoman Stefanik have provided with the airport. I think we have to remember a lot of that water that's flowing through those pipes is coming from that airport. As a matter of fact, I would say a large portion, probably more than half of that water is coming off the area of the airport. So it's time that the feds step up and help.
And we also need to continue to rely on partnerships from, you know, Clinton County and the North Country Chamber of Commerce and the business community out there. And so again, I'm not poking anyone in the eye here. I really just want to draw attention to the facts of the matter, right? And you don't know what you don't know. What we do know needs to be addressed and a coordinated partnership approach. And it really goes back to those two facts that I said before. We didn't want the base to close 30 years ago. If the base had not closed 30 years ago, the federal government would have, continued to manage. And people will say, yeah, but, you quote unquote took it. But it goes back to also what I said, that was being decided in a period of distress. Right? And any one of us can look at it for life experiences, people that have gone through a very stressful period and made poor decisions. Now, I'm not here to comment as a poor decision by the collective, because I think good faith efforts were being done, and what people didn't know, they didn't know in a sense. We can get into those academic discipline conversations. Let's, like we did when we launched our 24 million water and wastewater capital plan, we looked forward, we didn't look back. Looking back is easy. What we need to do is look here, assess the situation, and start planning for the future. So with that, I'll end on this. I did want to share one last brief item under my supervisor's report. Clinton County will be unveiling a feasibility study of sort for the former Clinton County Clinton Community College. I believe next week it is. I'm very hopeful that the plans and objectives there, first and foremost, keep the property in public trust, and two, that there is a partnership with the town of Plattsburgh. I am very, very concerned. I have expressed this numerous times. I'm concerned about that campus going dark this winter, and it being a vacant place where people could go and do the unmentionables. So I am hoping to learn more about what the county has planned during the period until repurposing or whatever as well, to protect that property and not have it be a nuisance property that is owned by the county. So when I get some more information, I will be glad to share that with you folks as well. Given the fact that tonight, yep.
Will you share the public comment
Yes.
with all of us?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll scan and get it to you. Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Given the fact that we did not have a meeting last week, tonight is a hybrid meeting, so we will go into the first material. And Katie, did you get the updated abstract one?
I don't know if I did or not. but
Okay,
it's not
so,
today.
Resolution 166, abstract 6C-25, just starting it from the beginning, $881,502.84, approximately a $200 reduction.
That was the only change.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Results of the abstract of audited claims number 6C-25 for $881,502.84. Abstract 6C-25 prepays for the amount of $206,789.63 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Wood. Is there a second?
Second.
Bella. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution carries. Resolution 167, declaration of July as official Michigan month.
Whereas regional food icons are an integral part of community, economy, and culture, and whereas similar to our neighbors that are known for such delicacies as poutine, garbage plates, Tony dogs, and buffalo wings, and whereas Plattsburgh, in our corner of the North Country, is known for the Michigan dog, and whereas the Michigan is a delicious hot dog served in a split-top bun topped with a specially seasoned meat sauce served with or without mustard and onions, and whereas the Michigan has been an iconic food landmark and local favorite for more than 90 years, and whereas the town of Plattsburgh is the home of the Michigan, with the highest concentration of Michigan restaurants, which have been staples in the community for decades. And whereas July 16th is National Hot Dog Day, and Americans consume over 150 million hot dogs on Independence Day. And whereas the Michigan is forever buried in regional culture, now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby declare the month of July Michigan Month in the town of Plattsburgh.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Bella. Wood. Any discussion?
Can we amend it to say with or without mustard, ketchup, and onions?
No, ketchup is not allowed on a hot dog. No,
On
no, no,
Michigan.
no, no.
Onions buried with
Can't.
ketchup.
No ketchup.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Resolution carries.
I like ketchup on mine too,
I will, just to note, two things. The T-shirt this year is, one of my favorites. I think it's gonna be a quick classic. I wanna thank, Jess, for all her hard work on Michigan Month. And then some people, continue to inquire, oh, you know, this is the month of Michigan Fest. Michigan Fest is August 2nd, and, the bylines of that is we're keeping the fun rolling. All right, Resolution 168, the Agriculture Industrial Fair of Clinton County, and did we receive all the material for this?
We have.
Okay,
Whereas the town clerk has received an application with the fee, a check for the amount of $600 for a license to conduct and operate a place of public amusement within the town of Plattsburgh from the Agricultural and Industrial Fair of Clinton County, Inc. at the Clinton County Fairgrounds. And whereas upon the applicant receiving the issuance of a New York State Certificate of Inspection by the Code Enforcement Officer indicating full compliance, and it will be submitted to the town clerk's office, therefore be it resolved that after review of the certificate of insurance naming the town of Plattsburgh as additionally insured, the town clerk is hereby authorized to issue said license for the period from Tuesday, July 7th of 2025 through Saturday, July 12th of 2025. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and the code enforcement officer.
with no objection before a motion, I am gonna ask that we extend the periods of dates to Monday. I know this was, tough to get a whole bunch of this material from, because they extended it till Monday as well. No objection. Is there?
July 7th, I think, is
Is the
actually
Monday.
No, I know, but I just, that,
It's not Tuesday.
it's not, yeah, it's not Tuesday, it's the Monday.
So we'll correct it to
Yeah.
Monday. Or Saturday, July 12th.
Yeah. All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Caustic, is there a second?
Second.
Awesome. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Resolution 169, AP Properties LLC, v. Town of Plattsburgh.
Whereas Aki Properties LLC and the town of Plattsburgh are desirous of having certain assessments issues resolved as to property owned by Aki Properties LLC in the town of Plattsburgh. And whereas a settlement proposal resolving pending tax certiorari litigation was recommended by the Vincelet Law Firm, special counsel to the town of Plattsburgh, and reviewed by the Plattsburgh Town Board at its regular monthly meeting, and whereas such a proposed settlement would present the parties with an expeditious and economic alternative to further litigation as to resolve issues between the parties. And whereas the town board has determined that the proposed settlement is in the best interest of the town, now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby accept the proposed settlement for the 2024 tax certiorari proceeding filed by Aki Properties LLC, in which the 2024 assessed value of parcel number 194.1-25 shall be reduced as follows. Year 2024 for parcel number 194-.1-25, the prior assessed value was $3,165,200. And revised assessed value will be $1,800,000, reduction of $1,365,000. It is further resolved that Aki Properties LLC shall be entitled to a refund of excess taxes paid waiving statutory interest based upon the above provision. And it is further resolved that section 727 of the real property tax law shall apply to the adjusted assessment for assessment year of 2023 and shall affect the 2025, 26, and 27 assessment rolls. It is further resolved that the town board does hereby adopt this resolution to end the litigation between Aki Properties LLC and the town of Plattsburgh as to the above referenced assessment.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Discussion? I would just refer that this was, conferenced with, Dan Vincelet's law firm, as previously discussed. Seeing nothing further, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Pass. All right, there is no additional, formal resolutions for action tonight, but I will, itemize draft minutes, monthly reports, request for advertise for bids for a used bucket truck, authorizing purchase and installation of new security system for the water plant buildings. Also appointment for a representative to the SRTG. I would draw attention to the fact that the SRTG, which is the Saranac River Trail Greenway, group reached out to Trevor Cole, asking to see if he may have an interest in serving in a town-appointed role with that. Our previous representative had not been filling in that capacity for a while. Trevor has a high interest in that, so just wanted to bring that to your attention. So, all right. Is there anyone seeking to provide any committee reports this evening? Going once, going twice. All right, seeing that there are no committee reports tonight, I know that there is a need for an executive session regarding the collective bargaining negotiation per Article 14 of Civil Service. Is there a motion?
Second.
Bostic. It is unknown if formal action will follow tonight. Can I get a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Charles Costick,
Yes.
Dina Isabella,
Yes.
Daniel Bosley,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes. We will enter executive session at 6:45 p.m.